So we are in a period of exceptionally high uncertainty. It is like you walk in a fog, you have light in your hand. You can only see that many steps ahead.
This war also has an impact beyond Ukraine. Has the world economy absorbed the impact already?
It has eliminated the peace dividend. No country now can take peace for granted. The most terrible price is the one they pay with lives, so this war must end.
This fragmentation of the global supply chain, this process is still ongoing. How to adapt to it?
We caution against bringing too much geopolitics into economic decision making. The cost of adjusting trade to the new reality of supply security could be between 0.2% and 7%. We caution very much against bringing everything home.
So what is the IMF's assessment of China's economic growth in the next 5 years, say?
China needs to make one on the rebalancing of growth from investment-driven growth to consumption-driven growth. This, coupled with more fairness of treatment of state-owned enterprises and private enterprises, and more investment in productivity, education, research and development.
Like ChatGPT, everybody is talking about it. And other people argue that it will have huge impacts on human jobs.
Creative jobs now can be replaced by artificial intelligence. And the question is, how would the benefits of this enhancement be shared? If we don't think of the implications and don't prepare people, and then we may end up with a rapid increase in unemployment and social unrest. If policymakers are asleep on the switch, there can be very significant negative social consequences of these technologies.
时间公允，一人一天24小时。有人灌注商业帝国，有人烹饪思想盛宴，有人冲破科学宇宙。我们一直在寻找与他们的相会，通过思绪的交汇，拨开信息迷雾，重回决策瞬间，直抵故事之源。财新时间，只给你最有价值的思想。
So what is the IMF's assessment of China's economic growth in the next 5 years, say?
What we see is the Chinese economy following on the path from high growth rates to higher quality of growth. We have seen the impact of COVID on China as being quite significant. Last year, China grew only around 3%. And for the first time in 40 years, growth in China was below global growth. Global growth was 3.4%. But with the reopening and also attention to key structural reforms, China's growth this year is going to be around, we project, around 5.2%. 1/3 of global growth will come from China. And when China grows, others benefit. Our research shows that 1% growth in China brings 0.3% increase in growth in Asia. So what we see over the next years are two very big choices China needs to make. One, on the rebalancing of growth from investment-driven growth to consumption-driven growth. And two, embracing green growth as the foundation of China's prosperity. This, coupled with more fairness of treatment of state-owned enterprises and private enterprises, and more investment in productivity, education, research and development, attention to the demographic features of China, this can provide this security of fairly stable growth with higher quality of growth for the Chinese people.
So what kind of potential benefits you see in the future for China's green development?
Above all, China is going to bring the much needed jobs for its own people. We know that green jobs on average are better paying jobs, and they are in China. There are so many opportunities to continue to green the growth of China, from the energy supplies to efficiency to how urban centers are developed. Also, a lot of good prospects for sustainable agriculture. But China also recognizes that failure to do so gives an excuse to others to slow down their own transformation. And China, unfortunately, is even more vulnerable to climate shocks than the rest of the world in total. Increase in average temperatures is faster in China, and because of its population density, natural disasters are devastating. So it is both an interest for China, for the security of China, and an opportunity for China to be the leader in this field of green transformation. And China has done a lot already, so keep it up.
Do you see that the high inflation and high interest rate will remain much longer or not?
We are assessing that very carefully, and it is very difficult to give a straightforward answer because of the multiplicity of factors in play. We have, one, a serious risk to financial stability because of this adjustment that the financial sector has to make. Two, we have non-banking financial institutions that are less regulated than the banking sector is. So far, they are not showing any signs of weakness, but we have to carefully watch developments there as well. Remember how the crypto sector got into trouble because there is no regulation that can prevent that trouble from coming. And then three, we have the real economy slowing down. We have this year less than 3% global growth. When growth is slow, that normally means that eventually unemployment goes up and eventually consumers spend less. That hasn't happened yet. So we are in a period of exceptionally high uncertainty. And when you are in uncertainty, it is very important to be agile in policy making. It is like you walk in a fog, you have light in your hand. You can only see that many steps ahead. So try to be less determinate, be more data-driven, more careful, and be more humble than normally in projections we can be.
So the key is that in the face of the uncertainty, that the regulators should be more vigilant, more careful, and more quicker in reaction. And let's talk about another topic. What impact do you think that the U.S.'s push for global supply chain restructuring have on global growth and resilience?
We need to step back and assess why is it that attention concentrated on global supply chains. Because during COVID, they were interrupted. And then we had the war in Ukraine that had a similar impact on food and energy supplies. So it is no more possible to be responsible and ignore supply security. It used to be that the only factor determining where you invest was cost. Now it is cost plus security of supply. And that means that not only the United States, everywhere there is some rethinking of global supply chains. At the fund, we caution against two things. One, stepping out of economic logic. We caution against bringing too much geopolitics into economic decision making, because the cost of adjustment will be very high. We did a study. It concluded that the cost of adjusting trade to the new reality of supply security could be between 0.2% and 7%. It's a big difference. We want to be closer to 0.2, not closer to 7%. And two, we caution very much against bringing everything home, because risks to supply when you concentrate in one place are very high. If there is a hurricane or rains of major proportion and you put everything in the same place, that can have devastating impact.
Yeah. So this fragmentation of the global supply chain, this process is still ongoing. So what would be your suggestion to major player in this, how to adapt to it?
Well, my message to everybody is act only on data and economic logic and not beyond. And remember that the world has not invented trade yesterday. For thousands of years, division of labor, trade was and is for the improvement of people's lives. And it has to continue to be a foundation for the world being richer and more secure. If you have any doubts, my advice would be to those who are making decisions, take the picture of your family, look at them, and think what life you want for them. Do you want them to be richer, or you want them to be poorer?
And there are also some new players asking for attention on the stage, like the disruptive technologies, which is AI future. Like ChatGPT, everybody is talking about it. I have been using it for several months. It's very impressive. And and other people argue that it will have huge impacts on human jobs. Multinational institutions like IMF, should you take this kind of technology, AI technology, into consideration when you are making long-term projections?
We certainly have to, because the future of work is very significantly impacted by new technologies. It used to be that only low-skilled jobs could be replaced by technology. No more. creative jobs now can be replaced by artificial intelligence. And the question is whether this would lead to productivity enhancement, and then how would the benefits of this enhancement be shared. If we create an environment in which humans can constantly adjust and adapt to the changing world, then artificial intelligence, other technologies, they continue to be supporters of people. If we don't think of the implications and don't prepare people, then we lose the battle for the hearts and the minds of people, and then we may end up with rapid increase in unemployment and social unrest. If the benefit is only concentrated in the hands of those who create and produce artificial intelligence, then inequality in society is going to explode. So we have to think how we share this benefit and what is a meaningful life for people. They can be more in human touch activities. Artificial intelligence can do all kinds of things, but it hasn't yet come to a place of, hugging you and letting you cry and then sharing this emotion. That time may come, but at least this we don't see yet. And also we can have much more development of leisure for people because they would have much more time. But if we are not prepared, if policymakers are asleep on the switch, there can be very significant negative social consequences of these technologies.
So following your visit to Ukraine, can you tell us about the situation there and the IMF's assessment of the conflict's impact on global economy?
I was very impressed during my visit to Kyiv and Irpin of the resolve of the Ukrainian government and Ukrainian people to overcome a very dramatic shock for the country. What I saw there was a functioning economy with all the social services in place: transport, shops, schools, water treatment plants, electricity provision, all of this operating in an orderly manner. Most importantly, the Ukrainian authorities have taken a very strong course to governing in uncertainty. Just to give you two examples, last year they collected 36% to GDP in taxes. It is truly astonishing, and they have kept inflation under 25%, which is also a remarkable achievement at the time of a war. When I talk to ordinary people, they see this war as an existential threat to their nation. They also see it as a unifier. And I came back to Washington much more confident that Ukraine can indeed manage financial flows responsibly, and that the IMF is bound to support Ukraine to deal with balance of payment shocks. We have provided so far $2.7 billion in emergency financing, and it goes to pay pensions and salaries to teachers, keep the country running.
And this all also has impact beyond Ukraine. It has huge impact upon the world economy. In your opinion, has the world economy absorbed the impact already?
The impact of the war is threefold. One, it has eliminated the peace dividend, which all countries enjoyed, and has led to resumption of buildup of defense spending. Why? Because no country now can take peace for granted. And let's remember, the peace dividend meant more money domestically for education, for infrastructure, more money for development cooperation. To me, this is the most significant lasting impact. Two, the immediate impact was through energy and food prices. And it is tremendous because it came on top of the price shock coming from the pandemic that interrupted global supply chains and led to inflation that on its own required central banks to increase interest rates. Three, it has created more tension globally, geopolitical tension, and it is not conducive for the world economy to resume activities at the highest level. So, very significant global impact. But I want to come back to the Ukrainian people. The most terrible price is the one they pay, with lives, with the misery that people are experiencing in the war-affected areas, with the millions refugees internally displaced, external. This is pain that must be erased. So this war must end.